Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are in the world. It is your host, Matt Crane, on the Power of Great podcast, where we show you, we tell you, but more importantly, we encourage you to recognize that your current situation is not your defining moment. And today, for all of you on iTunes, Podcast Republic, Stitcher Radio, and SoundCloud, and for those of you watching this around the world live, we've got a young phenom, a young man, 14-year-old CEO, best-selling author, voted top 10 most inspirational and motivational speakers in the entire world. We've got the man, Caleb Maddix, in the Power of Great Studios. Caleb Maddix, how you doing, my friend?
I'm doing great, man, and even better now that I'm on the phone with you right now, bro. Looking forward to this.
Absolutely. You know, Caleb, when I reached out to you several months ago, you were hitting just your stride. You know, you'd really been putting in a lot of work for the better part of 6 years. It's funny because, you know, here you are at 14 and you've been working through so much by as early as age 7 and 8. And you were starting to just hit this crazy momentum. Talk to us about, you know, about the journey so far and just what it really feels to know how much impact you're creating.
I mean, it's really unbelievable. You know, it took a lot of sacrifices. I mean, I remember days that I would be making 100 sales calls in a row, like for a 6-7 hour period. And then I'd get texts from my friends like, "Hey, come fishing with me," or "Hey, you know, I'm fishing right now," or "Hey, I'm playing baseball," or "Hey, I'm riding my scooter. Come with me." And I had to say no to them because it was a sacrifice. But I learned that any pain that you're put through, there's always a prize at the end of it. And man, I'm just enjoying the journey. And you know, I've already helped 2 kids in this last 2 months not commit suicide. So like all of my work together coming to that, it's totally worth it. My impact, I mean, it's amazing to see what's happening.
That's phenomenal. And you know, so for those of you that are out there listening right now and watching this live, you know, Caleb has a motto called "Work Your Face Off." And he really is all about the work and what it really takes to be successful. And, you know, Caleb, tell us about your work ethic and what's a day in the life of Caleb Maddix like from start to finish?
Every single day is different for me, but I can give you the basics of it. I wake up every single morning at 5 a.m. I mean, I was up at 5 a.m. this morning. On vacations, I wake up at 5 a.m. That's just like my routine. Wake up at 5 a.m. I get in a workout, and then after I'm done with my workout, I do some gratitude. You know, I say things I'm grateful for. Me and my dad kind of go through our gratitude routine, do that stuff. And then we're on the day. You know, I start killing it, interviews, sales calls, meetings, really just building a business. That's what I am. I'm a CEO. And I normally get to bed 10, 11 p.m. And that's my day. I have a couple videos up there on YouTube that show my day in the life. But if you look at my day in the life, I literally don't waste a second in my day. All 24 hours of my day are strategically placed. So it doesn't mean that I'm working 24/7. It just means I'm doing something 24/7 to advance me to my goal. And I think that's the importance that every single person needs to have. And I believe time flies, yes, but you're the pilot. So it's about what you do with your time. And I'm very strategic with each and every single second of the day. And, you know, it takes work.
Absolutely. And for those of you that are out there, guys, Caleb Maddix is the best-selling author of Keys to Success for Kids, a book that I'm sitting here looking at right now. You know, Caleb, walk us through writing that book. When did you write that book, and why did you write that book?
Yeah, so I wrote it whenever I was 12 years old. And at about 12 years old, I had an extreme passion. I knew where I wanted to be with my life. I knew what I wanted to do. And basically, I knew a lot of keys to success because my dad paid me $20 for every single book that I read. So I had a passion for personal growth. And I was studying guys like Tony Robbins, Gary Vaynerchuk, Grant Cardone, Darren Hardy, Jack Canfield, all these success, people who proclaiming the keys to success. So I knew these, but I noticed a lot of my friends didn't have a clue about it. So I thought, you know what? Why don't I write a book? Why don't I put this book together that inspires kids to become successful, to know that age is nothing but a number, yet also gives them practical tips that's actionable that they can put into action. And literally at 12 years old, sat down. I wrote the book within a week, and I had it published within a month. I published it last year on July 4th, so it's a year later now. It's been amazing to see what's happened. It makes me laugh. It was such a quick thing. I wrote it within a week, put it out within a month. People overthink stuff so much, and it makes me laugh. Like, I was talking to somebody this week. They were 50 years old, and they were telling me they want to write a book. And I was like, okay, that's awesome. When's your deadline? They said, I want to write it in February, which is 8 months from today. And I was like, why is it taking so long? And they were like, well, doesn't it take that long to write a book? And I actually coached 3 kids this week alone to write their first book. Like, it's such a simple process. And I think so many people complicate stuff. But that's kind of my journey of writing a book. Just got it done. Because I believe that success is a door. And if you have a key to a door, whether you're young or you're old, the door has to open. So I gave kids the keys to this door of success.
It's funny that you said overthinking, because as a 14-year-old CEO, you have just the same amount of pressures and expectations and daily, daily needs for sales that most adult business owners have, and yet talk to us about just how important it is to keep it simple, right? And to understand you can only control what you can control. And I just feel that for me, I feel that when I work with business owners and talk with them, it's like they create chaos because they overthink everything. So is that something that you've seen as you've worked with different businesses or kids that want to become entrepreneurs?
Yeah, dude, and listen, I believe in the simple concept of just keeping it super simple. Like, that simple. Like, don't overcomplicate your business. Don't overcomplicate your relationships. Don't overcomplicate sales. I always say in sales, if you confuse them, you will lose them. Like, all these people have this drawn out pitch and all these, things that they're going to do. And this, that's great. Have that, but simplify it. Like, you just get on the phone with that person. You find out what they want, because number one key to sales, find out what they want. You tell them how you can give them what they want, and then you exchange the money for the value that you're going to be providing. That's what sales is. Business, it's this simple. Focus on 3 things: people, process, and product. If you can just master processes in your business, it'll succeed. And if you can master having the right people and partnerships around you, your business will succeed. If you can have people skills, you can succeed. If you don't if your product is good, you will succeed. So simplify your life. I think that's such an important thing that a lot of entrepreneurs aren't doing. They're trying to read all these books and take all this stuff. But if you can just collect all of this and write out, here's what's important in my life, here are my priorities, and here are the actions I need to take, you would succeed so much more.
And that really leads me to my next question. You talked earlier, and guys, once again, for everyone out there on iTunes, SoundCloud, Stitcher, watching this live, we've got 14-year-old CEO, international speaker, Caleb Maddix. And I want to give a huge thank you to our sponsor, Rush Impact Marketing, and the team there with Jeremy Warner. They're the Wizard of Oz behind the curtain, and I really couldn't do the show without them. So I definitely want to say a big thank you to those guys and just how super professional they always are. But, Caleb, you were talking about personal development. Yeah. And, something that I personally have really ramped up in the last year and a half, and not only made it a must-have in my life and my business, but I've also incorporated that into my daily routine. So I've got 2 questions for you. 1, how important is a daily routine? And number 2, how important is that personal development time?
Yeah, I think a daily routine is extremely important. I mean, I believe in this. I believe in success leaves clues. And if you look at successful people around the world, whether they're government leaders, whether they are athletes, whether they're entrepreneurs, whether they're musicians, whatever they are, 90% of the success successful people out there have routines. I think it's so important to have a routine, have a basic routine, have daily actions that you must take, have things that ground you. I think routines are extremely important. And one of the most important things that every single person needs to add into the routine is personal growth. You know, the key to success, KEY, is to keep educating yourself. I mean, like I said, my dad paid me $20 for every single book that I read. And, you know, Warren Buffett says the more you learn, the more you earn. And that's true, because you can't get your transformation without information. And the cool part is it's 2016. Like, if you want to know who the 22nd president of the United States is, you can Google it. If you want to know how to get gum out of your hair, you can ask Siri. Like, all this information is around us. It's a matter of us going out and grabbing it. And I personally do 2 to 3 hours a day of personal growth. And it's been a tremendous part of my success.
Wow, you can't have your transformation without education, man. That's phenomenal stuff, you know. So what's one book you're reading right now that you're really using for personal development?
Yeah, so I just finished a book called The Perfect Day Formula, and it was actually an amazing book. I don't know if you've seen it. I forget the name of the author, but it's such a good book that talks about creating your perfect day. I mean, one of the best time management books I've ever read. And I'm really big into time management right now and mastering my time. But I'm reading a book called The Perfect Day Formula. It's a great pickup for any entrepreneur out there who wants to manage their time the same way as Warren Buffett, Bill Gates, Elon Musk, and all these big time guys are.
Awesome. You know, on top of all the amazing things that Caleb Maddix has and does with his Keys to Success for Kids book, with his motivational and inspirational speaking, he's been asked to come speak in front of sales groups and organizations, but he also is the CEO and founder of Kids for Success. So Caleb, you know, talk to our audience and our listeners, you know, what is Kids for Success and how did it come about?
Yeah, so basically, I have a lot of kids read my book, and they wanted to know, where do I go next? They kept asking me that question. So where can I learn more? Like, they were super fired up. My book fired them up. It was getting them some results. But they wanted, like, that weekly dose of Caleb Maddix, I guess. So I started a company called Kids for Success, and we have a bunch of different products underneath our company, Kids for Success. And the main product is called Kids for Success Celebrity. And it's a product that kids sign up for, and it's a monthly subscription where they get a weekly video for an entire year. And the video basically goes deeper on these keys to success I share in my book. I mean, we go way deeper. We talk about, getting over bullying. We talk about manners. We talk about habits. We talk about how I run my day. We talk about how to connect, how to get mentors. I mean, I go deep with how to get mentors. I tell stories of how I've gotten mine. It's such a great program. But the cool part is I partnered up with an 11-year-old girl. Her name is Emily Shea, and she's already written her own book, just like me. Not to mention she already has started her own business. And in 6 months, she's made $20,000 selling her book door to door to car dealerships. So she's an absolute killer. So basically, me and Emily do these weekly videos, but it's like a skit or like a TV show where it's fun for kids. So it's like we have this one kid we hired that's kind of like an actor. And he acts like this normal kid, which he is a normal kid. And he basically signs up for Kids for Success. We go throughout his life at school. We go throughout his life other places, and we basically become that coach for him right on his shoulder. And it's such a cool thing to give life scenarios. It's like a TV show, but a good TV show that kids are learning from. So that's the main thing that we're doing in Kids for Success is Kids for Success Celebrity. We're also going to be holding some events. We're doing courses about how to write your own book. We're doing a bunch of starting your own business. I mean, I made 6 figures in the last 6 months. So we're talking about that. So many great stuff happening there. And I'm really excited to see even more what happens. And my goal is to make $1 million this month alone off of Kids for Success. And I also want to get 10,000 kids in my company, Kids for Success, by the end of the year.
That's awesome, and you know, I really will say that not only are you well on your way, but you've got adults just like your boy Matt Crane here, or on the Power of Great podcast, that has to have his weekly dose of Caleb Maddix as well. So, you know, that's one thing that I think you've done a phenomenal job on, and something that I want you to really talk to our listeners about is that, hey, just because you created a business that's around kids doesn't mean that you aren't impacting adults. And
Yeah.
you know, talk to us about just how important your dad has been in your journey. I know you spend so much time with him on the road, and he paid you $20 for every book that you read. Just how impactful has his support been and his guidance been for you so far in your journey?
Yeah, so the best analogy I can give you is there's bad dads, there's good dads, there's great dads, there's dads that are in the Hall of Fame, there's dads that are like famous for being a dad, there's such great dads, and then there's my dad. Like my dad is the greatest. I hit the lottery really getting him. I mean, he's the greatest human being I've ever that's ever stepped foot on this planet. The greatest human being that's ever stepped foot on this planet is my dad. That's the way that I look at him. And the cool part is he's not only a dad, but he's also a mentor, and he's an encourager, and he's he's so much and he's a partner. You know, we're partnered up in my business. It's such a blessing to have this relationship that I have with my dad, and to have somebody that literally has gone through the things that I'm going through and is there to kind of give me that word of advice that I need, or to help me out before a big speech, or to motivate me before an interview, or to help me whenever I'm on something or I fail. It's such a blessing, and I literally, I wish I could duplicate my dad into a billion other dads to be dads of the other kids, because this world would change 1,000,000,000%.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. And I think for a lot of us that have watched you guys and have really paid attention to you, and for those listening on iTunes and SoundCloud and Stitcher, you know, one thing that I respect the most about your dad is that he's not living his life through you. He's living his life with you. And I think that is
Yes.
so important. So, you know, for myself as well, you know, I think with all the things that I do, and all the you know, times I have to sit in front of so many important people and celebrities such as a Caleb Maddix, that I'm a father first, you know. So I don't want to be just a Hall of Fame podcaster. I want to be a Hall of Fame dad and a Hall of Fame husband to my wife. So I really appreciate the responsibilities that Matt provides to us every day. And I say responsibilities because he still has a responsibility to be your dad. And that's so important. So, you know, so as we get a little bit deeper into the show, I want to say a couple things. Caleb Maddix, Kids for Success, author, Keys to Success for Kids. But guys, international sought after speaker. Was recently in Australia with Gary Vaynerchuk. He's spoken on stages with Grant Cardone, with Darren Hardy. But let me tell you something, guys. In America, we have Good Morning America. In Australia, they have a show that is just as powerful and just as big as that particular platform. And my man Caleb Maddix was on that show. And talk to us about that experience.
Yeah. So basically, it's actually really cool. So, I write out my goals every single morning, and one of my goals was to be on national television. I'd done a bunch of local TV interviews. At that point, I had a video that had 3 million views. I had a lot of good things happening for me, but I wanted to be on national television. It's a pretty cool thing to say that you've done. And I wrote out that goal, and within a month after writing out that goal, I got this call from somebody that said, "Hey, I know you're going to be speaking in Sydney, Australia with Gary Vaynerchuk." He said, but I actually have a really good connection with the Good Morning America of Australia. And I was like, dude, that's so awesome. So at first, to be honest, I wasn't that sure that he really had a connection, because first time ever talking to him. But next thing you know, he's like, "Hey, done deal. Got your book. Here's the date." And I was like, okay. So I still wasn't sure. And then we show up to Sydney, Australia. We meet up with the guy, and he takes us to the place. And then all these cameras are here, and it's this really cool setup. And dude, we just knock out this interview, 30 minutes, really cool interview on national television. They said they had 8 million viewers that watched that interview. So that's probably my most exposure, I guess, on television. So that was really cool. And it was a really great experience. And what I'm learning is once you've done something, the nerves go away. Like the only reason you have nerves for something is because you've never done it. And I always thought I'd be nervous to go national television. Now, if I did it, there would be no nerves like that I would have because I've done it before. So I'd encourage a lot of people who are nervous to do something, do it. Make it happen because next time you're going to see how simple it actually is. It was just a really, really great experience and something super cool. And it's a great interview. It's on YouTube if you want to check that out. Just type in my name, Caleb Maddix. It's like the third search result. But a really cool experience. Teaches you the power of writing out your goals, and they'll come to pass. You believe it.
Yeah, that's awesome. So, guys, we'll have that link up on our sites. So, if you definitely want to check that out, but we also want to make sure that we do, guys. You got to get to Caleb Maddix's YouTube channel. You have to subscribe because let me tell you something. This guy lays down some of the most intense motivation and inspiration videos. And let me tell you, when he says keep it super simple, he lays a track down in 60 seconds that will light you up for 6 years. It's unreal the amount of energy and power he brings when he does those videos. So something that I always incorporate, and especially when I know it's a good message, I always make sure our family checks it out too. So thank you for those. Keep those coming. So make sure you get to YouTube, search Caleb Maddix, hit the subscribe button, and you will not be disappointed. So, hey, a couple other things, guys, as we're winding up the interview with my man, Caleb Maddix. I know he's got a lot going on, but you recently teamed up with it being Shark Week this week, you recently teamed up with a shark. So talk to us about Mr. Kevin Harrington, how that relationship is just going to further expand and allow you to impact so many more lives. And just what is it like working with the king of the infomercial?
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty unbelievable. Kevin Harrington is the original shark on Shark Tank, the first 3 seasons of Shark Tank. And I used to watch Shark Tank all the time whenever I was younger. And my dad could even tell you this. And my dad would say, me and my dad would always have debates on who our favorite shark is. And every single time I said Kevin Harrington, like that was the person I said. I was like, Kevin's my favorite. By far. I love him. My son just drew me to him. And my dad was like, my dad agreed. He loved Kevin. And then, after that, so like I told my dad, I said, Dad, it'd be really cool to meet Kevin Harrington one day. So I looked up where does Kevin Harrington live, and it turned out that he lived in St. Petersburg, Florida, 6 minutes away where I live. So it was really cool, and I was just hoping I would meet him out in public one time. But I was actually sitting in a coffee shop getting work done, and this guy looked at me and stared at me for like 10 seconds, and I was like, dude, what are you looking at? And I looked at him and smiled, and I waved at this random guy, and it turned out that his name was Brandon Adams. Now, Brandon Adams is a 20-year-old killer. He's a 26-year-old killer. And he knew me from my videos. He watched some of my videos. And it just turned out that Brandon was actually in St. Petersburg, Florida, to do a shooting with Kevin Harrington, do like video work for him. And so I talked to the guy, and Brandon said, so why don't you come down to this coffee shop 6 hours from now, and I'll let you meet Kevin. I thought this is such a cool thing. So I show up here. And I meet Kevin for a second. I tell him, hey, this is who I am. What's your best advice for me? Kevin was extremely cool. And we chatted a little bit. He gave me some great advice on, partnerships and other stuff like that. And then as he went to leave the building, I ran outside one more time and I said, hey, Mr. Harrington, I said, what's stopping you from giving me a 15-minute Starbucks meeting? Let me meet with you for 15 minutes. And your brain. He said, I like your hustle, kid. He said, we'll get that done. So I emailed him back and forth. 2 weeks later, it turned out that he wanted me to meet at his house to do an interview with me. He just was like, hey, man, I've been looking at your Facebook stuff. He said, respect your hustle a bunch. Brandon told me a lot of cool things about you. He said, I want to do an interview. So his first ever interview on his show, Mentor to Millions, I was the person that was on. So that's also on Grant Cardone TV. So we did that, and then he invited me out to one of his speeches. We spoke together. I was in his house 6 times in the last month, and we just made a business deal with my company, Kids for Success. So it's been a great experience to get connected with him, and he's taught me a lot of great lessons. including being really down to earth. He's one of the greatest guys you'll ever meet. He's intense, he's focused, but he has so much fun doing it. And I think that's so important is even though you're intense, don't be tense. So he's telling me that. He's telling me about partnerships, making deals, making partnerships with people, sacrificing your ego in business. It's just a great overall deal. And it shows you the power of when the student is ready, the master will appear. And I really believe that. You ever seen the Karate Kid? It's like Daniel's son or whatever. He was ready, and Mr. Miyagi showed up in that instant. That's how life is. When you're ready, the pieces will fall into place. It's just time for you to work on your craft, chip away at yourself, and prove. And then the teacher will appear, and your opportunity will show up in front of you.
That's an amazing story. And Caleb, I want to kind of spread that out just a little bit too, is that, hey, and while Caleb is 100% correct, when the student is ready, the teacher will appear, but you also have to want that teacher just as bad as you wanted him to appear in the first place. So what I really want you guys to hear from what Caleb said was that he was put in an opportunity to meet Kevin Harrington, but he still had to want that more than he wanted to just meet him. So as Kevin Harrington, multimillionaire, king of the infomercial, everyone on planet Earth trying to get to him, Caleb walked outside, asked him for the 15-minute meeting, and he got an interview on his show, and he got a partnership with his company. So Caleb, what's the biggest takeaway you can tell those out there listening right now about that particular encounter that they can do right now with something that maybe they want?
I think are you talking about from the entire experience of meeting him, the lesson he's taught me?
Yeah, what I really noticed when what you said is that, hey, it was one thing for you to know you were going to be in a situation to see him and be around him, but it was another thing for you to have the wherewithal to run outside the building and physically stop the guy and say, hey, I want a 15-minute meeting. To me, what that showed was an initiative that Kevin, while he knew you were the real deal, you still proved to him that you weren't going away. So, what's one of the takeaways from that particular encounter that you could offer our listeners?
The biggest takeaway from that encounter is, at first I didn't really want to go up to him because he had like 4 guys around him that were going to the car with him, and they were all chatting and laughing. And there were some pretty big guys, so I didn't really want to interrupt them. I learned a rule from Grant Cardone. I was sitting in Grant Cardone's office, and he told me this rule. It's the 1, 2, 3 rule. Anytime that you're nervous, count 1, 2, 3, and just do it. So, hey, you single guys out there, you're nervous to get a girl's number, 1, 2, 3, just do it. You're nervous to hop up on stage, 1, 2, 3, just do it. You're nervous to do a video, 1, 2, 3, just do it. And I did that. I remembered Grant, and I said 1, 2, 3, and I just walked, and I did it. I think the biggest lesson that you can learn is even whenever there's that hesitation, that doesn't mean that should stop you from taking action and actually doing it. 1, 2, 3. I think that's a very powerful rule and a practical rule as well that a lot of people I'd like to see apply that.
1, 2, 3, just do it. Guys, I tell you, Caleb Maddix is one of the most powerful speakers that I've personally had the opportunity to be around. I'm so thankful for him taking time out of his day to be a part of the Power of Great podcast that you will now be able to listen to iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud. We also have a live viewing audience that's tuning into this as well. And Caleb, so when you and I were talking offline about this, you were actually in the process of enhancing your already best-selling book, Keys to Success for Kids. And you decided that not only do I want you to talk about the enhanced version, but hey, you reached out and said that you would like to do something pretty cool for the Power of Great community. So lay that out there for us really quick, my man.
Yeah, so I mentioned earlier in this podcast and in this video that I wrote my book, Keys to Success for Kids, last year on July 4th. And it got published on July 4th. And, I flipped through my book again about 2 weeks ago, maybe 3 weeks ago. And I really like what I see. Good stuff in there. But imagine what I learned in a year. I mean, I was with Kevin Harrington, Grant Cardone. I spent a day with Gary Vaynerchuk. I mean, I've been with Ken Shamrock, John Lee Dumas, the founder of Priceline.com. I've been with Darren Hardy. I sat in the room with Darren Hardy, the Success Magazine, for about 4 or 5 hours to just pick his brain. So I've consumed a lot. Not to mention I've gained more experience. I mean, like you said, I was just voted in the top 20 most motivational influencers on the planet. I was voted in the top 8 must-follow people on Snapchat, and I was actually voted number 2 for that. I've had dozens of viral videos since then. I've been on national television. A lot of cool stuff has happened. Like I said, I made 6 figures in the last 6 months. So that's a lot. That's a goal that a lot of adults can't fathom. And at 14, I did that. So I gained a lot of experience and a lot of extra knowledge. And I said, you know what? Wouldn't it be cool to come out with a year-long anniversary with an enhanced book? So, yeah, I know what you're thinking. It's an enhanced book. You probably just went through and added in some stories. No, I added in 5 new chapters to an already really good book. And then I went back on the old chapters and I made them extremely better. So not only that, I have practical tips in here. So I've added in stuff like in depth on how to get a mentor. I've added in stuff on giving back, some more on that. I've added in stuff on my top 20 books that every single kid must read. I've added in a lot of practical stuff. I've added in stuff on what to do if something goes wrong. What to do if your teacher gives you a bad grade when you deserve a good grade. Like I give them the 3 R's that you must have. I give so much more knowledge. And I knew that I was coming out with this book. And I chatted with Matt Crane. I called him up and I said, hey, Matt, dude, we were already talking about doing an interview. And I said, who should I give, who should be able to get my book first? My book, Keys to Success for Kids. Who should be able to get the 2nd edition first? And the first person I thought of is my man, Matt Crane, and the Power of Greatness podcast. So I'm going to give you guys the first opportunity to get a copy of my book, Keys to Success for Kids, the 2nd edition with 5 new chapters. But here's the cool part. I'm giving it to you guys for free. For free. No, the only charge is I want you just to pay for shipping. A little amount of shipping. And guys, you get a 2nd edition of my book, Keys to Success for Kids. So much more content, so much more knowledge, so much more inspiration, so many more stories. I share so much more about what's happened in the last 6 months. It's a better grammar in there, even such a better book. Wanted to give it to you guys first for free to the Power of Greatness podcast.
Yeah, and for once again, I want to say a big thank you out there to my sponsor, my man, Jeremy Warren, and the team at Rush Impact Marketing for our Power of Great show. I want to thank all the listeners and for all of you that are out there right now, iTunes, SoundCloud, and Stitcher. Let me just help you. This book is not only a book that kids will read, it's books that parents are reading cover to cover because, for me, my 5 and 3-year-old, now I really have that cool person that my kids want to see. They love dad, right? But dad is going to eventually become not cool. Caleb Maddix is always going to be cool to them. And so, I want to say thank you, Caleb, for the example that you're setting and the foundation that you're setting for children, but more importantly, for what you're doing for parents to offer them an example that they can reference for their children in a society and in a world that does not have that many examples that you're really doing. So I tell you what, you have a supporter in me. You have a supporter in the Power of Great community. And, what's next for Caleb Maddix and where can we find more of Caleb Maddix?
Well, first of all, I want to say thank you so much for saying those kind words about me and saying that you support me. Dude, whenever Matt Crane's supporting you, that's like Oprah supporting you. So that's a good thing. But where can you find me next? What's coming up next for me? So basically, you're going to see me everywhere. You don't even got to do anything to find me. You'll find me on Facebook. You'll see my video pop up. You'll see me everywhere. I'm about to blow up even more than I have. But, my goal this year is I want to be a millionaire this year. Like I said, I want to get 10,000 kids in my company, Kids for Success. I want to be on Ellen. That's a big goal of mine. I want to do a partnership with Disney. That's one thing that I want to do. I want to do a partnership with Under Armour. Got a lot of really big goals that I want to do. And they're all coming to pass. And you watch. At the end of this year, they will be done. But here's where you can find me. First of all, just get my free copy of my book, Keys to Success for Kids. And that will automatically get you up for my email list. And I push out great content on there. Even, some of my best stuff. And then also, one of the best places that you can find me is through Snapchat. If you add me on Snapchat, at Caleb Maddix 13 on Snapchat. Like I said, I was voted number 2 in the top 8 must follow people on Snapchat. So if you want to find out why I was number 2 out of every single person on Snapchat, I think there's over a couple 100 million now. If you want to find out why I was voted number 2 for that, you got to add me on Snapchat. So add me on Snapchat at Caleb Maddix 13, my name, and then the number 13. Great content on there. I would love to connect. Send me a snap. Say what's up. But, guys, I'm excited to connect. Thank you so much for, it always humbles me after I'm done with this kind of stuff that people would listen to a 14-year-old all the way through and humble themselves enough. So I want you to know that if you listen to this entire podcast and you learn something from it, you're going to be massively successful because you can learn from anybody. And that's a big key to success.
You can learn from anybody. That's another key to success. Well, guys, I'll tell you what another amazing show right here on the Power of Great podcast. 14-year-old international phenom, speaker, author, coach, trainer, and I'll tell you, one of the greatest young men I've ever had the pleasure of sitting in front of, Caleb Maddix, live on the Power of Great podcast, where we come into you every week and we show you, we work with you, and we prove to you that your current situation is not your defining moment. Guys, it's your host, it's your boy, Matt Crane, and I will look forward to seeing you guys next week. Thank you guys so very much.